Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Top Podcast. This week we will be discussing the long-awaited pilot to Alien Earth. This is rated TVMA, so if you are young, please pause the video and seek parental approval before you continuing. If you are not a young, this is still going to be some heavy and graphic subject matter, so viewer discretion is advised. As always, I'm your host Mike, joined by my good buddy Dan.
Hello.
And Hot Kyle.
What's up, guys?
And Alien Earth is freaking here. I am
It's finally here!
so excited.
At long last!
And
It took its time.
it did. It took just enough time, though. We put out the Alien Earth episode this morning. Or yesterday morning when you guys are listening to the Alien Romulus.
Alien Romulus.
There we go.
Yes.
Yep. I'm not re-recording a thing after this. That's staying in the podcast. Yeah. So there is a lot to unpack here. We're gonna jump right into it for the sake of time. We now have 3 types of cybernetic being. We have cyborgs, which to my knowledge are brand new and are defined as a human being who has been artificially enhanced with cybernetic modification. There are synthetics, the synthetic people we've all come to know and have feelings towards. And this new breed for the show as well, the hybrid, a human consciousness put into a synthetic being.
It's very interesting that they opened the show with that it really feels like the cybernetic, side of the alien universe is going to be centerfold in this show, especially given that our main characters are all hybrid. It's actually very exciting that we're not just really taking on the xenomorph and aliens, but we're really diving deep into the different types of synthetics.
We explored a lot with David, how his ability to become more human kind of made him more dangerous as time went on. Like, what does that mean for these guys? Because, I know they are kids, so mentally they're still there. They don't have a capacity to be bad yet, it seems like. So I'm kind of interested in seeing how that's going to progress as the series goes on. Do their motivations change? Like, now that they have these cybernetic bodies, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I really want to get into how brilliant it is that we have a bunch of children and adult immortal cybernetic bodies. That has never been done before, and it's absolutely brilliant. You get that they're called Lost Boys because they get to be children forever.
Yep.
Like
Peter Pan imagery, not lost.
Yes. And so interesting that, I watched this with my girlfriend Kayleen, who is an acting coach. And she said the performances, across the board were incredible. But she's going to take clips of this show and present them to her class because she thinks every single one of these cybernetic, these hybrids, she thinks all of their acting is incredible. You have all these adults that are playing children, and they do it so well. And I love that they, yes, they are immortal in a sense, but they're so vulnerable. There's instant empathy for them because they're children and they're going to be thrown into these crazy scenarios throughout the movie or the show.
Yeah, it's, I think Wendy is one of the, just an instant top android. Such a compelling and fascinating character. And also just the thematic through lines that this show set up right off the jump. You have this idea of where is the line between human and non-human. We've put a human consciousness into a body that is completely synthetic. Now, is it the mind, or is it something more than the mind that makes a human a human? I heard somebody ask the question, or they likened it to the Mona Lisa, right? Like, there's only one Mona Lisa, and you can take a picture of it, and it is the exact same image, but it's the Mona Lisa that has a soul, and it is the picture that is essentially worthless. And so, where is the line? And then it's compounded later in the second episode. Slight spoilers for episode 2. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're going to get right onto the second episode anyway, so it's not the end of the world. The question is posed to us: what is the difference between humanity and animalness, like just the animal kingdom, in when the first episode focuses on this question of what makes a human, and then the second is what is the core of being an animal. And then you have these other themes of the trapped predator and how they're going to react which is just a blatant foreshadow to whatever is going to happen with these creatures that we had locked in these containment units that aren't going to hold. And I am so excited for it. And there's more of that, but I think we'll touch on the other themes as they come up organically.
Yeah. Well, and so something that does fascinate me is that with these kids, they're all pre-puberty, they're pre-adolescent. And so as the show addressed, there's certain natural hormones that dictate a lot of human emotion. And so these kids are being deprived of the natural, like, pubescent hormones that they're supposed to be hit with, which in a sense kind of opens them up to be young and innocent forever, except that they're going to be shaped by, like, the trauma that they experience out here, like, in the field. And so I do, it's unprecedented to see characters that are going through their coming of age story without normal emotions. I think that's so interesting to see develop, and we've never seen that before in any kind of franchise.
And yet at the same time, fear is such a clear and present emotion in, well, again, we're getting into episode 2 here, but they're not as completely emotionless as they would have us seem. And they say we've done something to their programming to try and mimic these experiences. And I think we're going to start seeing that play out and what all happens as a result of that. And I'm excited about it.
Yeah, me as well. So I do sorry, go ahead, Dan.
I was just going to say, and can it adapt? I mean, like, these things were created and they're the first of their kind, but who's to say that there's going to be some unintended consequences of doing this? Like, how do we know that the human mind can't overwrite programming? That's just a thought that I had, but I think that would be an interesting route.
And that's already, I think that is something they're going to toy with. Again, the line between when episode 1 and episode 2 is blurry, but we see that Wendy has the ability to fiddle with code somehow. So I think that is definitely something we're going to play with. So obviously the Lost Boys are incredible characters. Is the blonde gentleman definitely a synthetic?
Timothy Olyphant, and yes, he is.
Okay.
Because, we're getting into episode 2, but he talks a lot about how humans are just, they're animals, they're meats. Mm-hmm. And the way he talks about humans, it's almost derogatory. I like that he sees there's almost an inferiority in them. I gotta say, Timothy Olyphant's done a lot of stuff. I love him as an actor. This is my favorite thing he's ever done. Every time he's on screen, he is captivating because he's taking care of the Lost Boys. He's like their infield manager kind of thing because he can relate to them in ways that humans can't. So he is definitely a cyborg. And I think it's just, we haven't said that yet, but it's in the way he's talking about humans as if they're separate, as if they're like inferior, that brings that home.
Point of clarification. Do you think he's a cyborg or are you using that term loosely?
I'm using that term loosely. I'm sorry. I mean to say that he is a synthetic.
Okay. Important terms now because jumping into another character, how badass is Cyborg?
Dude.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Like cold villain. It's interesting because he's a human with enhancements. So, we're used to seeing synthetics act without emotion, but now we have a human that is making these cold, calculated calls. And he's not different in the head. He just has all these upgrades that give him almost like gadgetry and stuff, like a machine should have.
Yeah, that was a wild scene at the beginning when the lady's pounding on the door and he gets up from his seat and you think for a second, oh, is he going to let her in? And he just welds the door shut.
Yes!
Cold-blooded.
And it goes right back to what he's doing.
Yeah. And so ultimately that leads to I really want to talk about how good the opening was because it resembled the original Alien in so many ways. Down to the camera shots, down to the sets and the way the camera moves while they're all eating breakfast, the entire vibe and almost the kind of 80s futuristic culture was so strongly represented in that opening that I was blown away. I could have watched the whole show just about this crew on the ship. I was almost disappointed that it ended so quick, but what'd you guys think about it?
I mean, obviously the visual callbacks to Alien, fantastic. Unbelievably cool to see just what a good job they did. I think Covenant tried to do that as well, to recreate the breakfast scene, but it was so spot on. And you fall in love with some of these characters quickly. Egyptian, was he? The guy smoking the cigarette? just in the way he stood and everything about his character, I was instantly like, I like this guy. He feels like he's going to be in the show for a long time. Yeah, it was a masterclass. And is everybody from the ship going to be dead, do you think? Like, yeah.
It seems
that
that
whole
way.
crew's just gone, which is such a bummer because they characterized them so hard, so fast.
I know. So my big curiosity is if we are going to get a flashback episode that shows us more of what happened on the ship, because we got so little. Like, it really could have been the whole first episode to like see the adventures on this ship. Because as we can tell, so much has happened. Multiple creatures have gotten loose. There's a full-on xenomorph that has like popped out of somebody's chest. Like, there are a million things that went down on this ship, and it's a detailed ship. It's a massive ship. You have a big crew to work with. Like, that honestly could have been the entire show, and I would have been happy with it. And so I really, there was this feeling with the opening in my eyes that it felt like they had filmed it to be a slow, very, Alien 1, it opens very slow. It is a long, drawn out open. And this felt like it was filmed to be that, but then like they rushed through it. And I don't know if it was because like if they wanted to get to the juicier stuff or if if they wanted to retain the audience that has a shorter attention span nowadays. But like you really could have like almost paid homage to the original by allowing it to be this like slow burn opening. But it really felt like even down to that opening shot is exactly from Alien 1 where they're on the pods and like the doors open up. Mm-hmm. It is like one for one, except that it's sped up 10 times as fast as like how it goes in the original. And then you get all these quick moments of like flashes that shows all the action that's going to come. And I didn't know if that was just to like retain viewership to not get people like bored or if they just made so much content that they needed to like skip over this to get to what the show is really about. But did you guys feel that kind of pacing in the beginning?
I saw the flashback thing as a callback to Alien 3 personally, because I remember something very similar in that movie where it might have been Aliens actually. One of these two, you start off and you see random flashes of face huggers, some kind of like, yeah, that's what it reminded me of. So I don't know if they were just trying to go for that, but overall, like, I think that they just tried to elicit that feeling of nostalgia and familiarity for the first movie while knowing that they had a short runtime for a TV show, so they just trimmed it down as much as they could. I wouldn't be shocked if there is more footage and they had to cut it out, and I kind of hope we get to see that one day, but I agree with you that it was a little rushed.
I think based on what the first episode, not to be thematic guy here, but like I think there's a lot of themes that they set up to explore, and this ship and what happened on this ship, while super intriguing, aren't looking to me as if they're going to play into the themes that Noah Hawley wants to explore of playing God and immortality and humanity. And I think that ultimately this thing had to be a plot device, and they just tried to pay as much homage to Alien as they could. Because ultimately they almost could have just started with the cyborg in the mother room, and it wouldn't have changed that much, but it was cool to see. It was nice. And maybe it's a light backdoor pilot where people are going to love this and be interested, and so at some point somebody could film the journey of this ship. But ultimately I don't think it served the purpose of the greater purpose, at least, of what they're trying to do with this show and the story they're trying to tell and the questions they're trying to ask.
Yeah, I'm always wondering if if this leaves room for the graphic novel that's the story of what happened on the ship or something like that. Also, we could end up. We haven't seen every single body of the crew, so we don't know if somebody sealed themselves up in a closet and is waiting to get released. Because it could be interesting if, right now there's a lot of mystery over all the creatures that have been like unlocked in the ship. And so it'd be interesting to bring in a character who survived, who was on the ship when everything went down, and who could like through flashbacks show us a lot of what happened on the ship. Once we know more about, because like if we saw everything that happened on the ship, there would be less mystery about the monsters that are currently roaming free. Now, if we get a flashback, once we know all of the monsters, now you get to see what happened on this ship without spoilers, and maybe there could be a key piece of critical information that we don't know yet that gets revealed. It'd be kind of awesome if we find out that all of this came from an engineer planet, or maybe they have an engineer or something like that. Like, who knows what kind of twists could come down the line. And I would love to see more of what happened on this ship if it's going to reveal information that will be pertinent later on in the show.
I would still love them to see. I would still love to see him having visited David's planet, and this is coming from David's planet. I just want to throw that out there. From an earlier episode, we talked about that, but
that is definitely my ultimate dream. Is that somehow, some way, eggs are going to end up on LV-426, because we are 2 years shy of the start of Alien at the beginning of this show.
Okay. Wow.
And so it forces you to think, okay, I know at some point in interviews he said this is its own timeline, but how is this going to, and how could it tie into the greater story of the Xenomorphs?
Well, so it's very interesting. I mean, it's awesome that we're finally getting to see what Earth is like in the Alien franchise. I mean, it's cool that, we've talked a lot in this podcast about how corporate greed and corporate expansion plays a big part in this franchise. So it's awesome to see that corporations are kind of like the new governments. Corporations own different parts of the planet. And with this taking place 2 years before Alien 1, this is the first time we've heard of a company called Prodigy that is led by the boy genius. And that begs the question, is that just because the rest of the Alien franchise is, dealing with a different part of the corpos? Or is this whole corporation and everything they own going to fall apart because of the events of what happens in this story?
That's a good question. How have I not considered that?
Is Prodigy even going to be around in 2 years?
Yeah, well, the movie takes place in 22, but who's to say they haven't left yet, I guess, because how long does it take to get out into space? So I guess my question is what if the company started while they were gone? So it would make sense in Alien 1 how it wouldn't be addressed, but once you get into Aliens, yeah, that's where you have that question there, but
you could even
we'll find out.
Yeah, you could even wonder if somehow they caused something to transplant from the Prometheus planet to the alien planet. I'm done trying to get the numbers right. I'm going to mess it up.
Yes, thank you.
But if somewhere along the line they found out, hey, there's something on 426, that's the one that I know, that's Alien, and then the Nostromo is presumably already out in deep space and they're on their way back, so they just redirect them. Although, actually, probably not, because Ash gets swapped onto the ship. So you have to... I think it's not insane to assume that the events of this movie caused them to put Ash on the Nostromo and send the Nostromo out with the ultimate goal of getting back to LV-426.
Yeah, agreed. Especially if it all goes to shit here. Because it's interesting. Fair enough. It's awesome. I think it is, brilliant that we actually get to see Yutani herself. That's a first in this franchise. We've seen Weyland. He's always been present, but it's Weyland Yutani. They're a partnership. And so to introduce Yutani is a huge character, but she's hell-bent on getting her specimens back. She definitely knows a little about what's on there. And so it does make sense that after everything goes to shit here, that's when hell, it could be the fucking final shot of this show is the Nostromo going off to go get, to go try again.
Honestly,
yeah,
that'd
so
be pretty sick.
Honestly, if that's the last shot, that would be 10 out of 10. But the other thing you just made me think of is, do you guys think that Weyland let Yutani in on the secret of what happened? Well, I guess he was dead, but do you think she found out from him about this stuff, or do you think she found it out on her own?
Oh, actually, considering the timeline. Okay, do we know what year Prometheus takes place?
Yeah, I sent it in the group chat. It's where's my phone? All right, little history lesson.
Yes.
Prometheus takes place in the year 2089.
Okay.
Which is frankly a little close for comfort. Alien Covenant is 2104. Alien Earth is 2120. So we have 31 years between Prometheus and the start of Alien Earth.
Whoa. So Waylon died a long time ago.
Yeah, but he also died 31 years ago, which is a blink of an eye in when you have a world that exists with deep space travel and cryo sleep.
Fair.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I'm just thinking about how it all, I don't think they worried too much about that as it all ties together, but Yutani's fully in charge of Weyland Yutani right now. Like, Waylon's been long gone.
And so is his daughter, who was...
Yeah.
Oh, I've completely forgot about that.
Yeah, okay, interesting. Okay, sweet. So, do you guys like this? I like this character of the boy genius. I think he's actually he's fun, he's playful, he's interesting. You kind of want him to die still. Like,
Yeah.
all right. It's like he's that perfect like trillionaire that you just like want to see get face mugged.
Everybody assumes it's always about money with trillionaires. Might be one of the greatest quotes of all time. Yeah, I think he's awesome. The scene where he's sitting and munching his apple, and it's such a like, he's talking about immortality and talking about knowledge, and it's such a blatant callback to the Garden of Eden and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and trying to become like a god. It's just, he is such an intriguing character, and just I love the characterization of that they're making, and the way he just personifies the extreme hubris, the ultimate hubris of humanity, just perfectly. I think he's fantastic.
Well, and I love this setting of Neverland. He's got his own private island that's a deep jungle, and it's safe to assume that he's going to end up in possession of these alien specimens. The idea of them getting loose on this island is a really awesome setting to have xenomorphs out in the deep jungle of like his own private island. It's almost like Jurassic Park, like Alien, and I love that. Like, you could see how this guy would become obsessed with the specimens he's going to get, and I'm very excited to see where his arc goes from kind of being obsessed with robotics into being obsessed with whatever these creatures are going to end up being.
Speaking of creatures, was anybody else surprised that we saw the xenomorph that quickly?
I actually want to touch on this. It was very anticlimactic. Like, that was the problem, was that it just shows up, and it's like, I feel like you got to give a little more, you got to honor the creature a little more, you got to build up to it. You got to like build dread and tension before just launching a xenomorph. Because then throughout the rest of the episode, like, the xenomorph's just out and about and around. Like, it was very like anticlimactic how they revealed him. And I'm with you that I wasn't a big fan of that.
It was definitely anticlimactic, but it almost felt like the real reveal comes in the second episode.
Yeah.
I'm torn because on one hand, yes, it just shows up and it does its thing, and you don't have your classic xenomorph head pan and it's not, your slow shot, the xenomorph taking its time before actually killing somebody just for the sake of drama. That's all missing. But the scene itself, I thought, was just one of the best scenes in the franchise, where you have the cyborg, whose name I may or may not learn because I like the idea of just calling him Cyborg. He's doing his thing, and then this girl is dying off, like, right outside the door, and you have that classic whip-tailed sound effect that I love so much, and then it bursts through the door, and like the saliva just barely makes it through as the door closes, and it was awesome. I loved the scene, and so for me, I was able to let go of the fact that, yeah, we didn't get the huge introduction, but at the same time, it's like, I just watched 7 of these movies. I've seen the introduction. I don't think you're gonna blow my mind with another one, and so I was okay to miss out on that component personally.
I still thought it was cool, but like I don't know about you guys, but I got a chuckle out of that spot there where he kills the lady, and he must have noticed that the cyborg's in the room, so he starts like slowly moonwalking
like
backwards into the shot for like maximum dick effect or something. Like, as it comes into the shot, it's like, wow, this feels really intentional what you guys are doing right now, and I'm here for it. Like,
Well, it was a great forced perspective of being like, what? Hold on, what are we looking at? Is that wait? So, like, I liked the confusion out of that, but you're right. He's just you give it that classic, like, wait a second,
Yep.
there's someone right behind me, isn't there?
I chuckled at it.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I do think, we see more of him in the next episode, but since we're kicking off a new show in this episode, we should talk about the design of the alien, because I'm actually a huge fan of the way this one looks and feels. It is giant. It doesn't feel like a guy in a suit. There's good detail on it. Like, the way it moves, I'm really a big fan of the design of this alien. It's very scary. They've really, like, kind of remastered how scary this thing is and how deadly it is, and I'm a big fan of that.
I feel like I like it with the caveat that I remind myself you have a different budget for a TV show than you do for a movie. As someone who's been just obsessively sketching xenomorphs for the last 2 weeks, waiting for the show to come out, I've become very, very familiar with detail, and I actually find this one to be a little shy on the detail, but the details that they include are excellent, and the lack of details are covered by just such a nice, crisp, dark black that I don't feel like I'm missing anything for the detail. It just blends into the shadows better. Now, the way it behaves, I have very mixed emotions on, because as a plot device killing machine, oh my goodness, it's amazing.
Yes, but that's more episode 2 stuff, though, eh?
Yes.
I don't want to. We got to talk about. There's a lot of kills coming.
But I mean, even so, it moves like a lion. I love the way it moves. It's great. I am really wishing we could get some consistency on why different aliens behave the way they do. I'm getting some Alien 3, I'm just gonna kill for the sake of killing vibes out of this one.
Yeah.
And less of the aliens. Alien Romulus, the goal is to get more people face hugged. But I could be wrong. There's still plenty of time. Just on appearance, I actually thought it was my second least favorite thing in the whole episode, but I'd rate it like an 8.5. So that just tells you how good the episode was.
Cool. Something I got to call out that I think is hilarious. I've mentioned this before on the podcast. My pets fucking love alien movies. and so I don't know what it is, but I've never seen both my dog and my cat so locked in on a show, except for when there's a xenomorph, man. It's crazy. They love it. And I think it's the sound effects. I think it's something about the tension and the screaming and stuff. I think they like all the animalistic energy. My animals love xenomorphs, and this show is no different.
I feel like your cat and your dog are just like, it's the perfect organism.
This is what we strive to be as wild animals. Okay, we need to address the leeches, because that's a whole new thing.
I viewed them more as ticks. Personally.
I have the note as space tick, but I have seen the internet saying leech. Ultimately, I loved them. I thought they were creepy, and just when the first one bit, that was one of the only times I had a full on go, and
yep,
shoulders back, hands up, like that. The jump scare got me. It was, as Kyle said, it was softcore horror. They didn't quite bring it as much as they could have in terms of gore, but I thought in terms of timing, it was effective, and there's a lot of letting the brain cover the budget for the show, and I thought that was an effective use of that.
There was a lot of suspense that got built in that scene, where it's crawling around on his face, his head, and I'm just thinking, is it gonna go in his ear? Is it gonna call down his pants? What is this thing?
Eye? Is it gonna get his mouth? Is it gonna get his nose? It's
exactly. Look, we don't know anything about this thing.
And start at the very top of its head. All we know is that it fogged up that glass bottle that they were putting the rats in for it to eat, and you didn't get to see, but it was foreshadowed, and it was perfect. It's everything about the first episode was perfect storytelling to set up the rest of the show. What the rest of the show does is up to it, But man, did I love how they used everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I did say it felt very soft core to me. Like it just, and I think we're just coming off of, Romulus was a gory horror like masterpiece. Covenant had a ton of aggressive gore and stuff. Like a lot of these movies really try to push the boundaries of how disgusting and freaky these things could be. So in comparison, like it did feel like it wasn't as kind of like messed up and disgusting and horrifying as it could have been. Now the idea is still like having something on your neck literally draining you dry like right before your eyes is horrifying, but there wasn't a lot of screaming, there wasn't a lot of deep gore. They didn't like push the boundary like I felt they could have, and that could have been a creative choice since this is TV. You don't want to, I don't know. I don't know if they're trying to play it off for a more like TV friendly audience or what, but it did just feel like it was not as aggressively horrifying as a lot of these movies we've seen have.
That's true. I agree wholeheartedly. I also I didn't feel like it needed to be as aggressively horrifying.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. This is a random shout, but I got to call out that somebody was playing basketball in this movie. It appears in this episode, it appears that basketball is the most popular sport in the entirety of the Alien universe. Since all robots, humans, Marines, everybody's just playing basketball all the time.
Except, of course, Joe DiMaggio.
You know what? Props to him for still watching baseball in like 2120.
Yes. Oh, yes. I mean, that's on episode 2 as well. But lots of just like notes of human culture in this. Call outs to Ice Age, 5? Like, call outs to classic baseball. Like, I like that it's, still a very human story. As we're witnessing, I feel like humanity lose a bit of their like identity through robots and through advancement. It's fun to see these like integral parts of human culture still being represented.
Was the both watching screens at the same time episode 1 or episode 2?
Episode 2.
I think it's happening a lot. You're talking about where you're seeing somebody's face, but the screen is like layered over them.
No, there was a scene where the brother is watching, like the brother as a young child and Wendy as a young child are watching something, and then the screen is like split so that like on one way looking at the screen is the young versions, and then on the other side is old Wendy watching a different screen, but the screen is in the same place. I thought that was one of the most visually brilliant scenes, where it's like, this is like everything about this scene is a metaphor. We're not supposed to take what we're seeing as totally literal, and it was just it was beautiful. It was poetic imagery at some of its finest, I thought.
Yeah. Well, I'm loving this trend that the show is doing where you'll be looking at somebody's face and they're like looking at a screen or something. And so, the camera's on their face, but there's like an overlay of the screen that they are looking at, or an overlay of somebody else that is then watching them. Or, like they're doing this a lot in the show, and I've never seen that before. It's really, really working out great. Like, I really love it as a storytelling tool to be able to show, and you're showing instead of telling. And there's all sorts of stuff that's implied just in being able to see their face and being able to see the screen they're looking at the same exact time. Brilliant editing.
Loved it.
All right.
I think
it's. Do we have anything else we need to hit for 1?
I really just want to know after 1 any predictions, but I suppose we.
I know. I would love to. That's how I was going to suggest we close if nobody else had anything to say. I think that we are getting set up for a brother and sister escape attempt. And I hope that in some way they allude to how LV-426 started, but I don't think they will.
Cool.
I'm kind of looking at it very similarly. And just the ship crashed in the first episode, right?
Yes.
I would love to see a small-scale infestation in the city of Siam.
Wow.
But it's too early to tell if that's going to be the case or not. So,
I think we are going to see very big arcs from each of our hybrids. I think we're going to see them become, very different versions of themselves by what they experience, in this like alternative body. So I think even down to some of them becoming villains, we're gonna have huge arcs that shift them. I think we are going to see Brother end up mortally wounded and end up needing to go into a hybrid body. But I think it's going to like mess his head up because they said that the adult brain doesn't handle it as well as a child's brain. So it'd be interesting if she says in the episode, "I'm gonna save him," like I'm gonna save him, and I'm wondering if she, in desperately trying to save him, can put him into a body of a hybrid, and maybe it really like fucks him up in the head because his adult brain just can't handle it.
I love it. Love it.
Who knows though? Who knows? We got a ways to go.
All right. Well, until tomorrow, folks, this has been the Alien 1 recap. Let us know your thoughts below. And if you comment, we'll comment back. We'll have a conversation. And after episodes 1 and 2, we can comment on your thoughts and we can start collectively trying to puzzle this thing together. Until next time, which is tomorrow. Don't worry, the next episode's coming tomorrow. I know all 12 of you are desperate. Peace.